Pro Ball Spark. You want good words? Data Languager.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Count with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Boomtown Grill Thursday out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports, right here on 98.1 FM, The Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. We got three kind of major topics today. The U.S. Open is teed off at Shinnecock Hills. It has been delayed already, but probably not for the reason that everybody was thinking going in. But they're back out on the golf course. We'll tell you when Ryder Cowan's tee time has been pushed back. We'll tell you where it's pushed back to later on this afternoon. Got to thinking about, Jared and I talking about the wind and the possibility of 40, 50, maybe even 60-mile-an-hour gusts there today. The SGA has done everything they can to soften the greens, to slow the greens down. I saw this morning that they actually cut 4 of the greens at a different height than the others just because of how exposed that they are to the wind in different parts of that golf course. And so I know the U.S. Open has been about carnage forever. It's the one major where people kind of enjoy watching those guys struggle. So will you be upset if they stop play because of the wind, or will you be able to kind of realize it's not fair when the ball won't stay on the green? You got Scottie Scheffler chasing the career Grand Slam. It's pretty interesting that there hasn't been just an abundance to talk about like that. Certainly not like the struggle that Rory McIlroy went through at the Masters for those 11 years. Maybe it's just because it's his first chance, and then that pressure builds if he can't get it done. If it is a first-time major winner, who will it be? I think there's a few guys in that hat. We got the World Cup. We got Riley White in here. You remember him from the Merritt basketball games. He is Mr. World Cup, Mr. Soccer. He's even got his USA kit on from last Friday. So everybody's played a game as of last night. We finally got through the first group stage games for everybody, and now we start repeating today with what the schedule is. So who looked good?
Obviously.
Hang on. Oh. Not yet. Who looked good? Who looked bad? There were some teams that looked bad. And of those teams, who looked good that will come back down to earth? Who looked bad that will get better, and that's just kind of a blip? Who was good and will continue to be good, and who was bad, and they're going to continue to be bad. And then also, of course, the biggest story around here is the College World Series. Oklahoma moving into the championship series last night with 11-4 win over Georgia. Really cool thing happened at the end of that. That's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience for a couple of those guys on either side of that matchup. Where does this run from Oklahoma rank in the most improbable in-state things? I think there's games that you can point to that were pretty improbable throughout the years. But as far as like a sustained run, or maybe have to look at somebody having a surprising season, the way that Oklahoma – and is Oklahoma getting a little bit disrespected? All that's being talked about is their SEC record and how they finished 11th and all that. Let's go back to the first of the season. I mean, this is surprising, but maybe it shouldn't be as surprising as we think. Or maybe it should, because I think a lot of people thought when OU moved to the SEC, there was trepidation about football for sure. But when you started really diving in, baseball was the one that should have scared you to death with the love of the SEC, the stadiums and all that. They'll play North Carolina. North Carolina is the only team that's been in Omaha twice over the last 3 years. It's been 23 different teams and then them. And then where's Omaha on your bucket list of where you want to go, like sporting events? It sure seems cool every year, but it's not one that I never necessarily think of. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of those things. Whatever else might be on your mind, feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area one of these days, stay in touch with the show a couple of different ways. You can log on to kadsam.com, or you can download the Paragon app. The app's got it all. It's got the radio stations. It's got the Penny News. Brand new edition of the Penny News is out on your favorite local newsstands. Go pick up a free copy of the Penny News. You can check it out online at thepennynews.com. And it's very important to have a Penny News this week, because tonight and tomorrow night, the Rotary Club auction, the annual auction from the Rotary Club. You can find the lists online, theopinionnews.com. It'll be on KECO tonight and tomorrow, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. from the Rotary Club auction. Also, you can check that out on the Elk City Rotary Club Facebook page. We'll have it live streamed there. And then in order to bid, you can call 225-9697, or you can comment on the Facebook page for Rotary to get your bids in. There's all kinds of great stuff coming up today and tomorrow at the Rotary Club auction. And the Skinny on Sports podcast will be available anywhere podcasts drop. I did remember to record, Riley, which a lot of times when Jared's not here, I don't remember that. But I did remember to record, so at least we'll have a Thursday podcast, and maybe tomorrow I can remember again, and then when he gets back, he can podcast those up. I mentioned Riley White isn't it? All right, pull that closer to you so we can hear you. You're all pro at this, but you're not with the microphone itself. We may have to put the headset on you.
Yes, sir.
That way you're back to kind of in your comfort zone.
Yes, sir.
So even back, during the high school basketball playoffs, you and I worked a few games together, and you were already fired up. This was clear back in February to March, and you were fired up about the World Cup. You and Matthew both.
Yes, sir.
So now that it's here, what do you think of it so far?
So far, it's just been great seeing all.
There you go.
So far, it's just been great seeing all these different European fans coming over from the U.S. And experiencing what the U.S. has to offer. And most importantly, it's just the one game that can bring people truly together, and everything. That's just kind of like the magic of just sports in general. But the World Cup's on a different level. You got people coming from Europe, Asia, the Middle East, all coming to the U.S. enjoying this time here. I want to say there is a dude named Freddie. He's from Germany.
Oh, yeah.
I've been following his story from his road trip. So
he should be in Oklahoma right now as we speak, because he's coming to the Ella Langley concert tonight at the Zoo Amp.
Yeah. So hopefully he can hear us and everything. But it's just nice seeing people enjoying their time here in the U.S. and enjoying the game of soccer and what the U.S. has to offer in terms of its people, the area, and everything. So.
I found that very interesting as well, because I'm following Freddie. There's a couple gals from England that once you follow Freddie, then you start seeing all of these. There's a Japanese guy that's experienced the U.S. for the first time, and I think it goes to show certain things politically that just flat out they hear where they're from, and turns out not necessarily true once they actually get here, and that has been. Just, I mean, and it's not like they're going to Peter Luger Steakhouse or, they're going to Waffle House and going, this is the coolest thing of all time, or at Walmart. We take that for granted.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. it is, and they're just blown away. And then when they actually get to like Texas and they start having the barbecue, they're insanely jealous.
Right.
And I don't know what they eat there. I've never been there. I've seen some different things as far as the Food Network, and it's stuff that I wouldn't necessarily want to eat either. But and I guess I can't blame them for thinking brisket is awesome when the other thing you get to eat is like haggis or whatever if you're from Scotland. Yeah, and I saw a picture. Somebody that's still in Europe was commenting on one of the ladies like, oh, that hamburger, the cheeseburger can't be that good from Whataburger, and then they showed a picture of like a bun with a non-melted piece of cheese and like a whole onion, and that was like their sandwich. I'm like, a raw onion and cheese sandwich isn't as good as any burger in America.
No
matter where you're at.
Mm-mm.
So obviously last Friday, the build up, the U.S., this is supposed to have been the year in the World Cup where these young guys all come together and got a new manager on the sidelines. This was supposed to be kind of the year to where the U.S. might be able to do something. And man, on last Friday night, did they not make a huge impression? Leaps and bounds, in my mind, the best game we've ever seen the U.S. play in the World Cup.
Oh, 100%. This is... Keep in mind, after the end of the 22, switching from Beerhalter to Mauricio Pochettino, this is the best building up to this World Cup, Pochettino has kind of transformed this U.S. squad, experimenting with different lineups, and finally we saw that work play out with a 4-1 win over Paraguay. Florian Balogun getting the first multi-goal game by a single U.S. player since the Clint Dempsey era. So obviously this U.S. squad came to play. They got something to prove. And true test is going to be against Australia come Friday afternoon at 2:00. So
there's no doubt that the USA's performance was one of the better ones, at least in the first games here. Now that everybody's played, I found myself yesterday afternoon watching England and Croatia. That was for a soccer game, that was a lot of fun to watch. It was back and forth, first half especially, being 2-2. Then England got 2 in the second half, and Croatia was not able to find the net. But England was really, really good. You can see some of the hype around them. And they've been a side that's been disappointing in a lot of these to what their level of expectation is. Obviously, Argentina the night before was incredible with Messi at 38, 39 years old. His first hat trick. He's tied close for the most World Cup goals ever at 16, and I would be shocked if he doesn't break that at some point here in this tournament. Germany 7-1. They were really, really good. But then on the other side, there were a couple of teams that pre-tournament favorite-ish that maybe weren't quite as good. Spain leaps out. A lot of people had them or France as the winner going in, and they weren't able to net a goal against something called Cape Verde. Never even heard of that before that match. Had to look it up on the map. I now know where Cape Verde is. It's a little islands off the west coast of Africa, but they were able to forge a tie against Spain at 0-0. Brazil and Morocco 1-1. That was probably not what the Brazilians had in mind. But to me, the team that is the name team with a name dude that looked the worst was yesterday. The Portuguese. Ronaldo. I mean, the comparisons between Ronaldo and Messi have been there forever as one of the better players of all time. And if you just watch the night before with Messi, yesterday with Ronaldo, I don't know how you can even make those comparisons because he looked like the problem for Portugal, not the answer for Portugal. And then Thierry Henry mentioned that in the post-match talk about how, he's got to score for the team, not score for himself. And I wonder if Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't get so caught up in wanting to be known and remembered as better than Messi as opposed to doing something for his team to win.
Right. Well, keep in mind that Ronaldo's been Portugal's golden boy for years, winning multiple World Cup games. But at some point, you got to start looking at the future, shifting away from Ronaldo. And I remember reading somewhere online over this past summer that this was probably going to be his last World Cup, and he was going to retire at the end of this season.
Well, he's 40.
Yeah, he's 40 years old, but still being 40 and still making your national squad and playing like the way at the level you are, even if it is just the Saudi league, it's impressive. Like I couldn't even imagine being 40 years old and still playing professional soccer at that age.
No, I can't imagine being 20 and playing professional soccer. All right, so of the teams that were really good the first game, the first match, which one of those has the best chance to maybe not be so good when they play their second match? I wrote down, unfortunately, I think the easiest target for that is the USA.
I agree too. The USA has always struggled forever with showing great signs, especially with the opening match, and then usually struggling between the second and third games, and then fourth game they scrape by just to get through the knockout rounds. I think we start seeing. England to struggle a little bit, especially some of the later games. That's a side that's always struggled whenever it comes late into the World Cup. Give me one. Looking here. Germany's always had a kind of a tendency to collapse late in terms defensively, especially in that third and fourth game. Keep in mind, Germany has not made it out of the group stage since 2014. So lots of good squads that tend to collapse during the World Cup, especially in those later games. But like I said, this year's got a different vibe to it. I got a feeling like we're going to see some countries that come out of nowhere to get through.
Yeah, I mean, there's already been a handful that either earned their first point ever in the World Cup. Cape Verde was one of those with that draw. The Congo yesterday with the draw against Portugal. A bunch of them have scored their first goal ever in the World Cup. I mean, there's been all – and it was so funny. It was after the Spain-Cape Verde game the next day we were talking about, is it an upset if nobody wins? And, I mean, that was a massive upset just to tie Spain. And so that was probably the upset portion of it, was that they got a point against the Spaniards, even though they didn't win the game. But it was like it's the cool and the part of soccer that people can't stand here in America. The cool part was it was the greatest sporting accomplishment ever in the history of Cape Verde. The uncool part was nobody scored a goal. It was 0-0, and that was like their crowning achievement in the history of their country. Who are you not worried about? A team that didn't play very well in the first game that you think will be fine? To me, it's obviously Spain.
Yeah,
they'll be fine, and I don't think there's much worry about them getting through to the knockout round. And I would probably put Brazil there as well.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and say Iran, Saudi Arabia, Senegal, and Iraq. Those are squads that can sneak up on you, but I'm not too really worried about facing those sorts of teams. Definitely Panama and Croatia. Those have been always good sides, but Croatia no longer has Modric this year, so their midfield isn't as good as it was 2 years ago, losing a key piece of that Croatian national team.
So you said England. I watching England yesterday. At least in the group stage, I'm not worried about them at all because they're going to be able to score enough to where it won't matter. Defense could be an issue later on as far as winning the whole thing, but they looked awesome. They looked athletic and deep. You know, I didn't realize. I thought there was only 3 substitutions. Now there's 5. Yeah. I don't know when that happened, but everybody they brought on, you didn't notice any sort of lapse, and even kind of added energy to what was going on to start the match. Harry Kane obviously is one of those big time guys that people talk about. He showed up in the first half, and then I already mentioned Portugal. I don't know if they make it out of the group stage. They just looked awful. Ronaldo looked awful. We're getting too much soccer talk on the text line.
There you go. So, yeah, Ronaldo did definitely not look good. But like I said, it was just the first game. So, like I said, there's still time to improve and everything. But when you really need to lock in, it's going to be during those third and fourth games.
48 teams for the first time ever qualified. They added some. I think that's been – a lot of people didn't like it. You don't see Cape Verde and those kind of storylines develop if you don't have more. So a lot of times when you add teams to a tournament, the NCAA basketball tournament is a part of that, I would think, where it's kind of diluted it down. For this, I think it's worked, at least in the first games. I mean, like there's still 2 more group games to maybe that not be the case if they come back down to earth. But at least so far, I think that's really worked, and you got to see some countries that that never had a chance to make it now are here, and they perform pretty well, at least so far. Where are you watching the game tomorrow? Are you going to be working?
I think I'm going to be working, but I may go home and watch at least the first half.
It's 2:00 tomorrow. I'm interested to see how around the country the excitement will start to build, especially if the U.S. can look sort of like they did, not that dominant. I don't know if we can expect that, and maybe we can. Maybe it's just like we're paying way too much attention to the history of what the U.S. has done as opposed to what they actually have on the field this time. But I have a feeling that if this continues, the excitement level for this World Cup, and especially for the American side, I think it'll start to build, and I think you'll start to see massive watch parties all around the country when the U.S. takes the field. Because if there's anything that United States sports fans are, it is front runners, and it's winners, and especially when it comes to like the country. There's enough people that have that patriotism about them to where even though it's soccer and even though it's not necessarily the most popular thing going, I do think you'll see people start to really get invested with a winner. And if the U.S. can keep on winning, I think you're going to see that. All right. When we come back on this Boomtown Grill Thursday, we'll tell you all about Boomtown. We'll also talk about the College World Series. I don't even know how to describe what has happened with Oklahoma and the role that they're on. Playing for a national title. We'll talk about that next. Skinny on Sports on a Boomtown Grill Thursday.
If you're hungry in Elk City, there's one place people keep coming back to. Boomtown Grill. Plenty of TVs, a great bar, and a dining room where the food is the real star. Boomtown's kitchen turns out hand-cut choice Angus steaks, burgers ground in-house every single day, and Boomtown's handcrafted pizza that just might be your new favorite in town. Tuesday night, enjoy chicken fried steak with mashed potatoes, peppered gravy, and a roll for just $4.99. Thursday wings are only 50 cents. Boomtown Grill, 2103 South Main in Elk City. Come hungry.
The Skinny on Sports.
Fuck! Yeah! Yeah!
Welcome back. Skinny on Sports, hanging out here on 98.1 FM, The Sports Animal. It is a Boomtown Grill Thursday. Big thank you to our friends down at Boomtown Grill, 2103 South Main. It is 50-cent boneless chicken wing day at the Boomtown Grill. Hand-cut, hand-breaded, hand-fried, with all the different sauce options. My personal favorites, I like to mix the spicy peach with the lemon garlic dry rub. I know a lot of my family love the mango habanero. My son will always tick over to the barbecue wings. Of course, they got the regular buffalo styles with different heat options there. Kickin' bourbon, sweet red chili. There's all kinds of flavors at the Boomtown Grill. 2103 South Main, 50-cent boneless chicken wing day today. Happy hour 2 to 6. Interested to see, like tomorrow, 2 o'clock for the U.S. Will there be a bunch of soccer fans hanging out at the Boomtown Grill? If I was a soccer fan and I was looking for a watch party place here in Elk City, that would obviously be the spot at the Boomtown Grill, 2103 South Main. Go visit Daryl and all the gang down at the Boomtown Grill. So if the World Cup isn't the biggest sporting event in America right now, or in Oklahoma right now, I would say it's not in Oklahoma, because the College World Series in Omaha, the Oklahoma Sooners last night defeat Georgia 11-4, so they go through 3-0 in their pool play with wins over Alabama and twice knocking off number 3 Georgia. You start looking at the run that they have made. They have now defeated the regular season and tournament champions of the ACC, which was Georgia Tech. They defeated the regular season and tournament champions of the Big 12 and the Super Regionals up at Kansas. And now, the last 2 games, knocking off the regular season and tournament champions in the SEC, the Georgia Bulldogs. And Oklahoma, after going 14-16 in SEC play, have made it to be in one of the last 2 standing in the Champ Series. They'll take on North Carolina to Saturday night at 7 o'clock, Sunday afternoon, I think 1:30, and then an if necessary game would be 6 o'clock on Monday. This team has transformed itself from the end of from the SEC term, really from down 8-2 in the 4th inning, down in Atlanta against Georgia Tech in the regionals, having to beat them twice. They scored 8-2. They've been so 13 in a row. That game to win 15-8, and then of course the walk-off by Taki that got him into the Supers, and then from there, really dominant. Both wins over Kansas. The 1-run win against Georgia on Monday was the only super competitive game that Oklahoma has played, and it hasn't been just 1 or 2 guys in the lineup or 1 or 2 guys on the bump. It's been everybody. Last night, you had 2 home runs from your leadoff. You had 2 home runs from your 7-hole. With Harris and Jason Walk, and those guys like doubled up their home run totals in just that one game. It's just the way that Oklahoma's got it rolling has been absolutely incredible up and down the lineup. Whoever's been called upon to do anything has got the job done, and whatever that was. I think a lot of the credit has to go to Skip Johnson and the way that he coaches that team, manages that team. Obviously, pitching is is his forte as a longtime pitching coach down at Texas, and then gets this job. And you start to look around since he's been at OU. There's tons and tons of guys that are in various levels of professional baseball, if not even all the way up into the major leagues on the bump. And now he's getting the hitting that he needs as well. I mean, he's looked like, even last night, Jackson Willits looked awful in his first 3 plate appearances. 3 straight strikeouts with guys on base, and then hits a double down the line, RBI double at the time that OU really needed it after Georgia pulled within 5-3. He hits a double, scores a run, makes it 6-3. Probably should have been 7-3. A lot of people talking about LaChance and whether or not he should have been on the base paths with that ankle. I think it's obvious that Skip Johnson thinks he's more important behind the plate every time he's at the plate hitting. That one run wasn't as important as having him on the field. But the Sooners continue to roll 11-4. Now they'll play second time in the championship series for OU. They were runners-up back in 2022 as Ole Miss knocked them off twice. 12th appearance in the World Series. Oklahoma's won it twice. North Carolina on the other side, making their 13th appearance in the World Series. This will be the 3rd time that they played in the championship series. They lost in 06 and 07, both times to Oregon State. They have made the 2nd most appearances in the College World Series without ever winning the title. Do you know who's number 1? Question on the text line, 225-9698. Who has made the most College World Series appearances without winning a national title? And I'll tell you this, the team that it is has been there 24 times and has never won it. So that's the question on the text line, 225-9697. How surprising has this run been and improbable from what we saw the Sooners ending the regular season in a loss in the SEC tournament to LSU, even with the assignment going to Georgia Tech? No one thought they were getting out of there. So how surprising to you has this been that you see OU playing for the national title coming up on Saturday?
Definitely not something that I'd expect, that's for sure. But that's kind of like the magic of the College World Series. It's anybody's game, because you had Kansas for the first time in forever, went in the Big 12, and then eventually getting eliminated by OU, who, like you said, finished 11th, I believe, in SEC play. And next thing you know, they're playing for a national title in baseball. So it's like, OU has to keep playing the way that they have been playing all throughout this tournament in order to have a shot against North Carolina. But at the same time, North Carolina is just one of those more seasoned teams that have been to Omaha multiple times. Like you said, back in 24, they ended up going. So I say it will be hard for OU to replicate what they've did against a more experienced North Carolina squad. But at the same time, I think if they just keep sticking to what they've been doing, they can get the job done.
Yeah, it's hard to even imagine Oklahoma losing a game with the way they've been playing. I think when you looked at the bracket going into this College World Series, they were certainly on the harder side with all 4 of those SEC teams with Bama. Even though they got exposed a little bit with the path that they had to get there, not the strongest by any stretch of the imagination. But Texas and Georgia, I think most people going into the College World Series, if you'd have picked a winner, I think most people would have picked either Texas or Georgia to be the College World Series champ. And Oklahoma has come out of that pool undefeated, unscathed at 3-0. And they've done it, like I said, a variety of ways. They've hit way more home runs in the past 10 or 12 games than they did the entirety of the rest of the season. And they've also got incredible pitching by freshmen. And that's the part that, it's really exciting on one hand when you think about not only coming up this next couple of days, but also the possibility of the next 2 seasons. It's also the reality of, can you hold on to them? Because you're going to have to pay these guys money. But so far in the World Series, you had Rager, 7 innings, 3 hits, did not give up a run, struck out 8, didn't walk anybody. Then you had Xander Mercurius, at the first game against Georgia, 7 1/3, gave up 6 hits, 3 runs, struck out 9, walked 2. Then that last night, Wazlowski, another freshman, 5 2/3, gave up 4 hits, only 1 run, struck out 4 and walked 2. And the ability for those guys to go that deep in the games, even though they were winning, the bullpen was still at basically full strength. L.J. Mercurius came in last night. He came in the first game, pitched a couple innings. Then last night he came in and really rocky early with the error by Taki, and then a couple of walks that walked in runs. Then after that, man, he settled right in and was really, really good until the one pitch there late, which created one of the coolest things that you can see in sports, and that was Colby Branch from Georgia, their shortstop, hitting a solo home run there late. And as he rounded the bases, he gave a high five to one of the OU players. It's because it was his brother that played second base for Oklahoma. And then, the aftermath of all of that after the game, and it was not only his brother, but also, a couple of the other Georgia guys. You can tell that they know him and are kind of buddies because of his brother being their teammate. That was pretty cool to see after the game, just, those guys, how happy Kyle was, even though his teammate just gave up a home run. Like you saw his reaction, like cool that my brother just hit a home run. Now, if it had been 5-4 and it had tied the game, maybe that reaction isn't the same. But at 11-3, you could kind of have that moment of celebration a little bit with your brother there as he rounded the bases. That was just so cool. And then, of course, the brothers on the staff for OU pitching as well. It's kind of something that you don't really get to see all that often in sports, and it just happened to go that way last night. Oklahoma going into the SEC, I think there was a lot of worry for different sports, mostly football, just because of what the SEC has been in football, what Oklahoma kind of been up and down since Lincoln Riley left. One really good season with Venables and a couple of not so good seasons with him at the helm. So there was always a worry about how they would stack up in football. But I think when you really started digging into it, the sport that was the major concern was baseball. With the facilities that OU is clearly lacking at L. Dale, now Kimry Field, and I think that's a big part of what we're seeing here is the financial commitment that family made, not only to improvements of the stadium, but also maybe some improvements for the NIL and the ability to spend some money. And I think we're going to see exactly what that is coming up as soon as this run is over. If you see those three guys on the bump continue to be Sooners, then maybe that signals OU isn't in as bad a shape on the baseball field to compete in the SEC as maybe we thought going in, because as much as the SEC has dominated football in the last 15 to 20 years, and they certainly have, baseball has been a whole different animal. They have the SEC has dominated baseball, and you just look at Mississippi State or LSU or Arkansas, just the facilities that they have compared to what OU had going in. That was clearly a problem and a real concern for people that follow Oklahoma baseball closer than most. And that commitment from the Kimrys has certainly helped kind of stem that tide. And who knows what a national championship, you're looking around right now. I mean, they're playing at Omaha and they're getting guys in the portal as we speak. Brumbaugh just yesterday from Arkansas, they're starting shortstops coming to OU. Now his brother is there and he's an Oklahoman, but that's been a problem for, I think, Oklahoma keeping the best guys in state here outside of, say, Willits, whose dad was on the coaching staff. That certainly helped to get him. And then some of the better guys ended up going in the draft. His little brother Eli, right at the top of that list. But what Skip Johnson has been able to accomplish this year, and really since he's been there, but especially, they were in a regional last year. And by the way, who beat them out last year in the regionals? North Carolina. So that's kind of a full circle moment maybe coming up this weekend. But enough cannot be said about how impressive that Skip Johnson has been. And he's doing it a totally different way. He's doing it old school way with JUCO guys. Oklahoma's got 13 JUCOs on this team. And then the young guys that are high school kids coming up on the bump. It's a different way, and maybe out of necessity in certain ways, without just the mega dollars to spend on certain guys. But it certainly worked, and the team aspect of what you see with them right now is something that it's more of a collegiate. I've said this ever since it started. Watching the college baseball, it's so much more collegiate feeling, like it used to be with all the other sports. And it's still there in baseball, for at least right now. And with the impending work stoppage next year for Major League Baseball, as far away as they are to get a deal done, I think college baseball has a real opportunity over the next 12 months or so to gain a little bit more of a foothold in what sports are, in American sports. They can kind of climb the ladder a little bit because, around here, college baseball has kind of been an afterthought even at this time of year because of how good OU and OSU have been at softball and how not good OU and OSU have been, and OSU really, in baseball. The Sooners have had real highs and maybe some lows. Oklahoma State, I would love for OSU fan, especially baseball fan, to text us 225-9697. What's going 9698. What's going through your mind right now? You guys haven't made it into a super regional in 7 years, and now you're watching the Sooners play for the title twice in the last 5.
I think definitely for in terms of baseball, I do think the more NIL funds needs to go towards baseball in order to get a shot at getting back to a super regional. But at the same time, I'm also starting to look at replacing Holiday, even though Holiday's done great things for us, getting us the new stadium, getting us the players and everything with the limited funds. But at the same time, it's just kind of halted, not really doing anything, but still getting us to the point of where we're sort of playing in the postseason. But I'm not saying that it's time for a change. I think it's time we start looking to a change, especially going into next year, if this kind of sort of continues in terms of how Oklahoma State's been playing.
They've been hurt as much as everybody gets hurt by the draft, especially high school kids. You can look right here in this town. That's where Cash was headed to go pitch at OSU. If you have him on the mound in a Cowboy uniform, I'm sure things are different to a certain extent. But at the same time, when you get the highest end of highest end high school talent committed to you like that, especially a 6'4" left-handed pitcher that can throw like he could and can, that's always going to be a gamble to kind of throw your eggs in that basket when you know what the draft could be, and there's no way most kids are turning that down, and for good reason. Cash didn't ask me, obviously, but if he did, I'd have said, there's not even a question. Yeah, you go. It's what you want to be anyways, as a major league pitcher at some point. You absolutely have to take that and see what you can do there without the risk of injury or whatever it might be in college. And they have been hurt that way. There's no doubt with some really high end talent there at Oklahoma State. Both Holidays obviously are in that mix too. But at the same time, I think one thing, baseball isn't the major NIL generator as other sports on campus are. But I do think that there is a little bit of a problem. There's been some articles written about this because back in the day, building O'Brate and having that facility to play in was plenty enough draw in college baseball for this slump not to happen. And so I do think you're seeing maybe more of a financial commitment in some aspect that needs to happen there in order, because it just doesn't make sense for Oklahoma State baseball to not even be in a super regional for 7 years in a row. That just absolutely doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's not the history of that program. It's not the history of that sport in Stillwater. And I think with what OU's done over the last 5 years, a little bit of salt may be rubbed in the wound of that even more because of the success that a far inferior historical program as Oklahoma is versus Oklahoma State, finding ways to have the success that OSU just hasn't been able to find. And that can't help Josh Holliday and, you know, the perception of that program up there for sure. It just doesn't, you know, you start looking around this time, you always see the different replays of old time World Series, and Oklahoma State's always there. Mm-hmm. And now they haven't even been in a super regional for a while. Where is going to the College World Series on your bucket list of sporting events?
Top 10 for sure. Top 10 for sure. Like I've always wanted to visit Omaha in terms around that time, especially in the College World Series, because Omaha's just a nice. Nebraska in general is just a nice. It's kind of like Elk City. They're just out there. They're in their own little bubble. We just leave them alone. It's an interesting place to go visit. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it kind of gets forgotten until this time of year every year, and they're like, man, that'd be cool. We ought to go do that one time, especially if your school is playing. You know, I know after the game last night, Toby rolling on the radio, you know, 5 years ago or 4 years ago when it was OU and Ole Miss, you know, the Rebel fans took over there in Omaha, and it felt like road games, and he was imploring the OU fans on the radio, get up here and experience this, and don't let it be a North Carolina home game like it was a few years back when it was Ole Miss and Oklahoma in the finals. And I think even we've heard this week from Mark Rogers, who was there on Monday, how many more OU fans were in the park for the first game against Georgia, and then last night it felt like there was even more. So it's that's building. It feels like the belief, and maybe making it all the way to the Champ Series. You know, as cool as the run was, I know I was sort of waiting on it to quit. You know, is this team really that good? Are we seeing what we saw in the beginning of the season more than what we saw in the SEC? And they've just continued to pour it on. And so, you know, it's 8 hours, I think, to Omaha, maybe from different parts of Oklahoma. That's for a you know, not a once in a lifetime thing because Oklahoma's won, but you know, it certainly be a cool experience. Yeah, top 10 for sure is on the text line, and especially this. I mean, this is. I think you'll see a good OU contingent in the stands, and it'd be easy to tell. You know, last night it was, you know, red and, you know, crimson and cream versus the red and black. You know, it's hard to kind of tell. It'll be obvious this weekend and who's where, because the baby blue of North Carolina and the crimson of Oklahoma. It'll be a definite contrast to where you can tell, okay, who's got the advantage as far as the fans go there in Omaha. But it is one of those that sort of gets forgotten, I think, when you start talking about it, you know, Super Bowl or whatever. But when it's happening, you kind of remember, you know what, that would be pretty cool, because I think Omaha is a pretty cool city for one of those that's a smaller place that you don't really think about going.
Definitely made that drive up there to Nebraska once or twice. I ended up going to Lincoln 2 years ago, I believe. I think I had to pick my dad up when he was driving over the road and his truck broke down in Lincoln. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, drove past Cornhusker Stadium on the way to the dealership where he was parked at. So I didn't realize the University of Nebraska had money like that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with that stadium and driving by their baseball field.
Yeah, I think that stadium's been sold out every game since 1969 or 1970, something like that. And Nebraska football hadn't been very good for a while now. All right, when we come back, U.S. Open leaderboard update. Some questions I had going in. Small sample size, but I think that half the field is getting a tough break.
If you're hungry in Elk City, there's one place people keep coming back to. Boomtown Grill. Plenty of TVs, a great bar, and a dining room where the food is the real star. Boomtown's kitchen turns out hand-cut choice Angus steaks, burgers ground in-house every single day, and Boomtown's handcrafted pizza that just might be your new favorite in town. Tuesday night, enjoy chicken fried steak with mashed potatoes, peppered gravy, and a roll for just $4.99. Thursday wings are only 50 cents. Boomtown Grill, 2103 South Main in Elk City. Come hungry.
The Skinny on Sports.
Welcome back. It is the Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal, hanging out here, wrapping up a Boomtown Grill Thursday. Don't forget 50-cent boneless chicken wings at the Boomtown Grill, 2103 South Main. Boomtown Grill open 7 days a week. Happy hour 2 to 6, Monday through Friday. Boomtown Grill. Great place to watch the U.S. tomorrow. Great place to watch the U.S. Open today, as play has resumed after about an hour and a half or so fog delay. Everybody's worried about the wind that's forecast for today. That's come down a little bit, the official forecast now. Gust only about 35 later on this afternoon. I wonder, and it's a very small sample size so far, Riley, because not even half the field has teed off just yet. But when you start looking at the scores, and it's early, like I said, I think, 8 holes maybe is the most that anybody's played so far in this first round. But it's interesting if you look at the leaderboard, because in the pre-tournament lead-up, 10 and 11 were talked about as just 2 absolute brute holes. And, of course, here on Thursday and Friday, half the field has to start on number 10. So if you look so far at the players that are +1 or better, out of the 48 guys that are +1 or better, only 19 of them have started on the back 9. Started on number 10. So that seems like a little bit of a tough break as far as just the way it went. I mean, everybody's going to have to start on 10 one day and 1 on the next day. But at the top of the leaderboard, you've got 4 of the top 6, the only guys that are under par. 4 of those have started off 10. So that's something that I'm going to be watching throughout the first couple of days, sort of see where that stacks up each day. And how that kind of sifts out, and the weather is going to play a huge part. That's not something that, at the British Open, it's always weather, because those courses are flat and they're pretty easy. If there's no rain and wind, they become way more difficult when the elements get involved. This is going to be a U.S. Open that's like that because of where Shinnecock Hills is out in the Hamptons with the ocean right there, the wind's coming off. I think it's going to be hard to tell which, if AM PM has the better of it or PM AM, or you're not going to be able to tell that till maybe even Saturday morning now with the delay, when everybody finishes up their 2 rounds and the cut is made, who had the better of it. It seems like right now, if you can start in the PM, the guys that are going to tee off this afternoon, play as long as you can play, and then finish up and keep on going tomorrow. Maybe it's them. But maybe the wind's going to blow so hard this afternoon that these guys, even though it was delayed this morning, you're going to have a chance to post a score, get done before the wind really gets going, and then come back tomorrow afternoon and just kind of see the hand that you're dealt at that point. But so far, Sam Burns, who was my dark horse to win, he's leading 2 under par through just 4 holes. It's very, very, very early. He's 2 under. Then a bunch of guys at 1 under. Graham McDowell, a former champ, is 1 under. Keegan Bradley, Andrew Novak, Rory, and Ludwig Oberg, both 1 under. Nick Taylor and Ben James, all 1 under par. Jackson Suber, a guy that's been playing pretty good, a young fella's even. Let's see, Cam Young, even par. Pat Reed, even par. Tommy Fleetwood, a guy that people really liked coming in because of kind of the European feel of this golf course and maybe the conditions as well. He's even through a few holes. Scotty Scheffler, the pre-tournament favorite, even. And then another guy that I think people have their eye on, not well known to the normal golfing public, but to the people that really pay attention to golf, Jackson Koiven, who is the number 1 ranked amateur in the world, coming off a national title with Auburn just a couple of weeks ago. He was the individual national champ a year ago. He's just played 1 hole even par, but that's a name that this is going to be his last event as an amateur, and then he's going to start become a professional after that. Be interested to see him. And then, of course, the local flavor with former Elk City native Ryder Cowan. His tee time has been pushed back because of the delay by 2 hours. He was supposed to go at 11:30 off of the 10th tee. He will not tee off until now 1:30 off of the 10th tee, playing alongside William Mao and Henny Duplessis there from South Africa. So Ryder, instead of 11:30, he'll tee off at 1:30. I wonder how that kind of the nerves that he has to be feeling right now, going to his first major championship ever as a rising, going to be senior at OU. If that helps him kind of settle the nerves, or it just kind of builds him having to wait 2 more hours before he can get out there. But we'll definitely be following Ryder's progress throughout the first couple of rounds, hopefully clear till Sunday, and have a chance to be the low amateur at the U.S. Open, making the cut. And I can't wait to see how he does. Some storylines going in. Obviously, the wind, the weather has been a major storyline. The USGA, last time in 2018 when this tournament was at Shinnecock Hills, a lot of players griping that they lost the golf course. The greens were dead. Phil hit the putt that was still rolling just to prove a point and all of that. USGA has really done all they can do, in my mind, to try to eliminate that factor by watering the greens. I think there was talk that today and tomorrow, in between the waves, like when the morning guys get done going out and they call it syringing the green, just kind of put some water on there. That's a practice that is like a daily occurrence at Shinnecock at some point during the day. So that's sort of keeping, in tune to what they do normally. The players at first were like, what? And then figured out why. And I think it's kind of been accepted that's okay. They mowed 4 greens at a different height than what the other 14 are, just because they're exposed to the elements, kind of raised up where the wind's really going to blow, and with the undulation around the greens, on the greens. You even saw them kind of spraying the approaches off the sides of the greens a little bit. So that's going to be a little bit different than the normal U.S. Open. The course will look different. You're used to big, giant rough and tree-lined fairways, and a lot of those courses, that's not what this is. And so it's going to come down. You're going to have to be able to get it in the fairway, even though they're the wider fairways than normal. But the rough, it's that wispy kind of British Open looking stuff. Sometimes you can get a great lie, and other times you're not. And so it's gonna be fun. I think that, like I said, the USGA has done everything they can. I think, 1, to keep it playable, and 2, not to have to pull guys off the golf course if it does start howling wind-wise. They've done everything they can for wind delays not to have to happen. I just don't know if it's going to be possible with the way some of these greens are. I personally, especially if Ryder wasn't playing, if he wasn't in the field, I would be all for let it blow 40. Let's see what these guys have to deal with like we do out here if we play golf on a lot of the times, and see the creativity, not just the difficulty of it, but the creativity that those guys can come up with the way that they can manipulate the golf ball around the golf course and that kind of thing. But with him being out there, I really don't want him to have to play in it. But that's something to watch. Scotty Scheffler chasing the career Grand Slam. He's off to an even par start through the first couple of holes, just way, way, way early. And then first-time winners. It seems like the U.S. Open over the last decade or so has been more of a, when I grew up, or even 15 years ago, the U.S. Open was more about hitting it straight, getting it in the fairway. And recently it's been more of the bomber's paradise with DeChambeau winning a couple of them, just hitting it as far as you can and then figuring it out from there. Brooks Koepka going back-to-back, one of those on Shinnecock Hills. It's turned into more of a bomber's golf tournament, I think, than what the USGA really wants it to be. First-time guys, like I said, we had Spawn, you had Wyndham Clark, you had DeChambeau and Koepka within the last 10 years. I think it does set up maybe to have a first-time guy. A lot of people like Tommy Fleetwood because of how European this golf tournament is going to feel. And so that he would be one. I had Russell Henley as my second favorite to win the U.S. Open. That'd be his first major just because of the consistency, and he just seems like a quote-unquote U.S. Open type player. Sam Burns has been really good in the last 2 U.S. Opens, and there he is atop the leaderboard early on, at least right now. And then I think you've got guys like Oberg that have never won a major, that he's so talented that he can win anywhere.
Right. Like I said, the U.S. Open has just been one of those golf courses with how you can only do so much to prevent Mother Nature and keep things fair for everybody. But like you said, there's a good shot for it to be a first-time winner. Oberg's definitely one of the favorites, in my opinion, along with McIlroy and McDowell, because of just how the Open is very similar to what we see over in Britain or Scotland even at one of those golf courses up there, with how wide open it is with the elements and everything. So
another guy that surprisingly didn't have just a ton of talk going in, that has been really, really good over the past, 18 months or so, and kind of from that area, is Cameron Young. I'm actually surprised how little talk there has been about Cam Young. He was a huge, not favorite, but one of those guys a lot of people thought had a chance at Augusta and also at the PGA. You didn't hear as much about Cam as probably you should have. I didn't even have him written down on my list, to be honest with you. And that's probably a little bit of a slight to his chances here at Shinnecock Hills. But there's I think the golf course lends to having a lot of different guys having a chance to win. We got somebody calling in.
Uh-oh.
Let's see here. Are you there?
Yeah,
Hello.
I'm here.
Who is it?
Hello. Rocky Andreessen.
Oh, it's The Rock. What are you doing, Rock?
Well, I'm getting ready to get in my courtesy car and get driven over to the Open here in a little bit.
So you are there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, let me ask you.
I'm here with both my kids and everything.
Let me ask you this. Have you gotten more nervous because the tee time has been pushed back 2 hours? Or would you rather it just start here in an hour and a half, or what do you think Ryder's feeling going into his first major championship round and then having to wait 2 more hours before he can get out there?
I think he's just going to go with the flow today and kind of he can't change any of that, so he's just got to go with it and make it work out.
What's your sense of how he's feeling?
He feels real good. I like his confidence level. His confidence level has been growing the last month and a half, really, I think. And I feel good about it. I heard his practice round yesterday went really well, so played practice yesterday with Chris Goddard and Max McGreevy.
Yeah, and then he was with, Morikawa on Tuesday? I heard you really enjoyed that.
I think that's correct. I think that's correct. I haven't got to speak with Ryder yet. I mean, we just got in last night. Leave the players alone.
Yeah, we don't need Grandpa messing anything up, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Now, so you are on the way. I've kind of read some different things about how much of a disaster it is to try to get there with the traffic. Are you experiencing any of that just yet?
Oh, absolutely. Last night when we got into the airport, I pulled the address up on my phone, and it said, about an hour and 30 minutes. Well, it was about 2 hours and 40 minutes.
That's
because it was bumper to bumper for over an hour and a half.
Yeah, I've been reading that from all the media people get mad when it takes them longer than they need to. Well, they feel like it needs to.
Yeah. That if you know the train system, you could do that, but I don't know it, so we just stuck to renting a car.
How excited are you to be able to be not only at Shinnecock Hills for the U.S. Open, but watch your grandson?
I'm very excited. It's this is one of his steps in life that he's going to go through, and it makes Grandpa and Grandma pretty proud.
Yeah, I know it makes the other grandma pretty proud too. She's been giving me all kinds of updates throughout the week. I guess he really likes his caddy. Maybe for the first time since he's had in any tournament, he likes a caddy.
Yeah, and actually his caddy he had in Florida, he liked him really well too for the qualifier. Mm-hmm. And I guess this caddy he's done a couple of Ryder Cups and some stuff like that, so he's got some experience.
Is there
that helps?
Is there anything that, outside of watching, obviously, the golf, is there anything you've got on your list away from the golf course that you want to go see or go check out while you're there?
I hadn't thought much about it, Aaron, because this was my main focus. Let's get this done, and then we'll figure the rest of it out later.
Here's what I'm hoping. You know, when you see like in any major, there's always cameras set up at a club. You know, and everybody's rooting on whoever. We need to get those out at our club on Sunday, watching coming down the stretch. That would be the coolest thing of all time.
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Well, Rock, hey, thank you for calling. You be careful up there, and tell Ryder he's got all kinds of support back home.
I will, and he knows it, but I'll pass it on to him, and we're hoping for a great day today.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thanks for calling in. Enjoy it.
All right. See ya.
That is Rocky Andreessen. He is Ryder's grandpa. Up at you don't get that very many places, right?
No, definitely not.
Not maybe on grounds just yet, but close enough. It's super cool. I mean, there's this little run here with Quade Cummins being on the PGA Tour from Weatherford. Ryder grew up here. Cash grew up here in Major League or minor league baseball, at least right now. It's a pretty good little run of some high end talent coming through Western Oklahoma right now. All right, Riley, that's going to do it for us. We got to get out of here.
All right, fair enough.
I appreciate you stopping by.
Yes, sir.
USA.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully tomorrow. And then, like I said, we'll be following U.S. Open, especially the progress of Ryder Cowan. 1:30 tee time this afternoon off of number 10. Thank you to the Boomtown Grill. Boomtown Thursdays. Get down there and eat some chicken wings. 50 cents. And here's the deal. They're cut. They cut their own chicken wings. They bread them. They fry them. They are fantastic at the Boomtown Grill. We'll be back tomorrow, Garrison Financial Friday. If you don't like soccer, too bad, because Scotty G will be fired up tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball